Okay, so today we were going to go ahead and we're going to try and use processing to create an array with different balls inside of it. And so in order to do this, we want each of these balls to have different properties. So this is where we're going to use our definition of a class. Remember, class allows us to save multiple pieces of information. Oh, just one there we go. Save multiple pieces of information. So what I first did is I went ahead and just commented out my whole program. So what am I kind of expecting here? So I have my header up here, and then I have create an array to hold each ball. Each ball will be an object, so must make ball class. So we can make an object from a class to hold multiple pieces of info. Balls will all start in the center and then move out from center in different directions at different speeds. The largest ball will be a different color. So that's kind of our goal. We always know when we do processing, we have a setup and we have a draw. We will also then create ball class. Inside there, we'll have to go ahead and declare our variables, create a constructor for the ball, display the ball. So we're going to go ahead and create a method to display it and then also to move it. So that's going to change our positions there. We also need to find largest ball because that's our goal. So we want to make it a different color. And so I think maybe the intuition says, well, why don't we put that in our ball class? Remember, the class lets us create an object and then change characteristics of an object. We don't want to go ahead and look at an object, though. We want to look at all the objects. So this largest ball is going to have to be outside of the ball class so that we can actually go through the array that we need to create to begin with to go ahead and do that. Okay, so as I work through this, feel free to go ahead, pause, write down with me so that you can go ahead and do this, get everything down. So the first thing I'm going to go do is let's just go ahead and create an array here that will hold the different amount of balls that we have. So I'm going to go up here. I'm going to go right after my first paragraph here, and let's go ahead and create that array. So I'm going to go ahead and use the ball right here because that's going to be the name of my class. Now I haven't created my class yet, but I'm going to go ahead and use it anyways right here, and I'm going to indicate that it's going to be an array here. Creating different objects from the ball class. I'm going to name it here. Let's name it container. So this is what's going to hold all of them. And new, again, use my class name right here. And then however many we want. Well, let's make this a little fun here. Let's go 100, not 11, 100 right there. Okay, and then I go ahead and end it right there. So this one goes ahead and this creates a container that will hold 100 objects from the ball class. Okay, well, since we go ahead and we use the ball class, maybe we should go ahead and define the ball class here. So I'm going to skip my setup draw and find largest right here, and I'm going to go down to my ball class, okay, at the bottom. So and I'm going to go ahead and do class ball right here. That goes ahead and does it. Now I'm going to go ahead and put my curly bracket right there. I always like to put the end of it as well. Sometimes you get a little loss, so this way it's less likely to get lost if you put your start and finish curly bracket at the same time. I know Repel, it does that for us, but in here we're going to have to do that. So next I want to go ahead and declare my variables, right? That's the next thing I have. It's always nice to have that kind of pseudo code to help us out. So declare variables. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I want to do I'm going to put first color, right? And then large color. So first color is just what I'm going to start with. And then I just want one specific color for the largest ball there. So I'm going to do color. Now, color is a saved variable inside of processing. It's a little different if we were on Repel. If I just put in color, it's not necessarily saved. I don't think it is, at least. Maybe it is. But here, that is just saying what type of variable to this. Well, this is a color integer, so it's going to save a color value there. I go color here, and this will just be the color for the largest one right here. So largest color right there. Also, I want to put in the radius right here. So since I'm going to make this circles, balls, I'm not going to have. Remember, ellipse does the width and height. Well, I'm just going to have radius, so that will count for both of them. Okay, remember, I'm just giving characteristics to these balls I have, right? And then I want float, so this will be my X position. So it will start in the X, float, my Y position. All right, and then also I'm going to do a double right here for speed. So that's how I'm going to make it actually move, right? By adding the speed to the position to change its position each time, as we saw before. And then Y speed right here. Okay, so these are all my declared variables. Okay. Next thing I want to do is I want to actually create a constructor for this. So let me go ahead and move down a couple here. So I'm not right at the bottom. So create a constructor for each ball. Okay, and I'm going to call this ball. Okay, just keep it simple. It should be the same name of my class right here. So it is, and then I'm going to go ahead and give it color FC. So I'm actually going to give it the same name here as what I'm going to put in. That's okay right here. So color LC. Sometimes we make it different, but I'm going to go ahead and just use the same radius, float X, float Y, double, and then this will be X speed and double Y speed right there. So again, these are what I'm putting in each time I do it to define these. So again, I started my curly bracket. Let me go ahead and end it. Go inside, double down here. So now this is just the curly brackets for the ball constructor. And so when I get inside here, I'm going to go ahead and do this. And so I'm going to set this instant variable equal to this inside of the class itself. So this FC is equal to FC right here. Then I'm going to do the same thing for LC. So that's the largest color, LC right here. I'm going to keep going here and do it for each one. So I'm going to go, hold on one second here, this dot radius is equal to radius. All right, that takes care of that one right there. And then we got X position. This is different, so I don't have to, I'm not going to use this here. X position is just then going to be equal to whatever they put in for X right here. I'll do the same thing for Y position. I'm going to do the same thing for X speed. So X speed is equal to XS, and Y speed is equal to Y of S right here. So this is what they put in each time they use it and they create an object. And then I'm saying, well, I'm going to define it for this for the whole class. So every time I have that object, I can use it throughout this class here. And that's specific for that object I'm working with at a given time. Okay. So if I set up one ball, well, then I can do other things with the ball inside of the class. Because remember, a class can change objects and do modes on objects. So that went ahead and that defined my constructor right there. Well, I also want to go ahead and use my ball class to display it. So I want to go ahead and create a display here. So display the ball as well. So I'm going to go ahead and void. Okay, this is no longer a constructor, so I need a void here displayed. I don't want it to return anything. I'm going to do it right here. So Boolean. And then I'm going to go ahead and use Boolean largest right here because I want to display slightly different depending if it's the largest ball or not. So this is going to see if it's the largest or not. It's still going to do it in either case, but it just wants to check to see if that's true before it goes. So let's make our curly brackets, go inside, hit that down there, and I'm going to go right here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go stroke right here, LC. And then I want to check to see if it is the largest or not. So if it is the largest, I wanted to make this a different color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the fill on this one. So I made my bracket here. Let's end my bracket right there. I come back. And so if it is our largest ball, let's go ahead and make it red. So I'm going to go fill 255. Now, notice whenever we use fill, I could go ahead and I could use my grayscale. So that's just one number. Also, you could go ahead and use the hexa color right there. I haven't introduced those yet, but that is an option as well. I like to use RGB. Maybe it's the physics side of me, but it makes a little more sense. So I'm going to come down my else statement, do my bracket here again so I don't get confused. Always make my brackets here, and I'm going to do a fill. So if it's not my largest ball, let's instead of, say, making it red, I'm going to make it blue. So that's going to be 0, 0, 255 here, and that should be blue, right? Because this is all red, green, blue. So all red here. 0, 0, 0, 0, all blue here. Right there. So that just changes the color based upon what is, if it's the largest or not. So otherwise it's in there. Now I'm actually going to go ahead and display it. So I'm going to go ellipse. And my ellipse is going to be based on the X position, the Y position that I put inside of my ball class. And then I'm going to go 2 times the radius, and then 2 times the radius, right? The reason why these are the same because I want a circle. Okay, so that will go ahead and use whatever x position is, whatever y position is, 2 times the radius will be the width, and 2 times the radius will be the height, and that will give me a nice circle there. And that will be end of my display. So all this is doing display, it's giving it a color, one color if it's largest, another color right here if it's anything else, and it puts the position and the dimensions of the ellipse that it will be. Okay. Well, I also want to move it. I don't want to stay in the same spot. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and create, this is a move, which when we talked about this, right, it's refreshing. So really what I'm doing is I'm updating the X position and Y position is really how we move an object, right? Because as it refreshes 60 times a second, it's changing that, so it's going to make it look like it's moving. So this is just another void right here, move, and I just need to go ahead and change these positions here. So do my curly brackets, come inside here, and I'm just going to make X position, which is plus or equal to right here, X speed right there, and Y position, which is plus or equal to Y speed right here. Okay, so there again, I had made my moves. It just goes ahead and it changes my position, so it's no longer in the same spot right here. Okay, and that way I have now a move. I can display it. This will also then update my X position, Y position, so it's no longer in the same spot for each ball, right? This is going to go and do that for each ball runs in here. So I can create it, I can display it, and I can move it. And I think that is what we said we want to do, right? So declare variables, constructor, display, and move ball. Okay. Now what I want to do is I want to find the largest ball. Now, I don't want to put this in the ball class because I don't want this to do this individual to an individual ball. I want to do this to all the balls here. So I'm just going to create this outside of here. I'm going to go static right here, and I'm going to go ahead and ball, right? Because I want to go ahead and use this applying to the ball class. I'm not going to be in the ball class, but this is going to apply to the ball class here, and find the largest right here. Ball right here, and container. And what this will do is this will go ahead and return the largest ball, right? So think right here, if we did static integer, this would return an integer. But since my class is ball, I want it to return a ball. It's going to return one object, and I want that to be whatever the largest object is here. So we always just put the variable type here, but now I'm going ahead and looking for one specific ball, and it's going to be the largest. Well, to find the largest, I really need to do two things. Okay, I need to figure out what is the radius of the largest, and then I need to store which one that is. Okay, so I'm going to first set just a default variable here. Largest radius is what I'll call this. Set this equal to 0. Okay, it's obviously not going to be 0, but that's how I'm going to go ahead and I can replace this anytime I want. So that will find what the radius is, but then I also need to find what it will be then. Which ball will it be? The actual object itself. So I'm going to call this largest right here, and I'm going to set it just equal to the first one inside of my array. So that's just in the 0 right there. So that's equal to the first ball, but it not necessarily will be that one right there. It should change as I go through. So I just want to go through each object in my array. So that means probably a good for each loop here. So for, and I'm going to use my ball right here, B, and inside of container. Then do my curly brackets here. And my curly brackets always end when you start, so you don't get lost. It's easy to get lost in these. If, okay, and then I'm going to go b.radius. So I'm saying if my object, right, I'm calling objects here of what variable type. Well, these are variable type ball, right? I created a class, so it's creating those ones right there. And inside of container, so I'm looking at every object inside of container. This is my array. And I'm saying if that attribute of it, which is radius, right? That's one of the attributes that's part of each object. If that is greater than the largest radius, that's some generic value I set of 0. So it probably will be bigger than that at first. Then I created my parentheses here. I need to end it as well. So my first instinct was, oh, there was already one here, but that was for my 4. That's the nice thing of always doing that so you don't lose track here. Hopefully I didn't lose track at least. Okay, so if it's greater than, then I just need to resave these two values. So I need to resave what is the largest radius. Okay, so that's b.radius. So I reset it to that one. And then I need to start, well, then the largest one is equal just to B. That object right there. So that will go ahead and cipher through and then filter through. And each time it's bigger, it will save that one as well. So largest will then just equal to object B. And then once I run through both of those, so I run through this if statement and this for loop, then I just need to go ahead and what am I returning? An object here from the ball class right here. So I'm going to return largest. Now I've said is equal to B. All right. And that's go ahead and that will find my largest there. So I've created my ball class. I found created a method outside my ball class to find the largest. Now all left that we have to do is we just have to do our setup and draw. Okay, we've done the brute hard work of this so far. So let's go ahead and just finish this off at this point by doing these two right here. So let's start off with our setup. So setup is always going to just be void setup, my parentheses, and I'm going to do my brackets here. So enter my bracket right there. I'll come up in between these. Okay, first I'm going to give it a size. So let's make this little funsies here. Let's go 600 and why not 800? Why not, right? Background. Okay, well I use red and blue. So let's make our background, let's say yellow. Right, so I'm going to go background right here. Yellow is a combination of red and green, so I'm going to go 255, 255, and 0. I can do a grayscale, that'd be fine too, not a big deal. And that right there. Okay, so now I went ahead and did this. Now, I've created the ball class. I can find the largest ball, but if we think about it, we haven't actually filled up my array yet. I made this. This can hold 100 different ball objects in there. We haven't made any. So in my setup, I want to do this at the beginning just to knock it out. So I'm going to put a comment here, fill array with, spell that correctly here, different objects created from my ball class. So from, okay, so that should give you a hint. We're going to be using our constructor to create these objects. So I'm going to go do a for loop here because I want to create how many? 100. Well, I'm going to base it off the size of my container really, right? So I'm going to create integer I here, which is equal to 0. And I'm going to make sure I is less than container. Oh, there we go. Container.length. And I'm going to go ahead and just increment up 1 each time here. I'm going to come down here, make my brackets. Boom. There's for my for loop. Okay, so the first thing I want to do inside of my for loop here is I'm going to go ahead and I need to create the actual radius, right? I haven't done that yet. I'm going to go ahead and do that. So float, radius of it, and I'm going to set that equal to. Now I want this to be a random number, okay? Let's say this is 1 through, it doesn't matter how many ever pixels. Let's say it's going up to 600 wide, 800 height. So let's go 30. All right, or 40. Let's go 40. All right, so I'm going to use the math random. I don't want to be the same every time, but math random is an integer, so I need to go ahead and cast that. Math.random here, and because I want to go to 40, I'm going to go ahead and do times, and I'm going to go ahead and do, now this is where it gets a little tricky here. I'm going to do 39 plus 1. Because 39 would give me 0 and then up to that, right? But I don't want it to go up to that. I want to go to 1 pass, but I don't want it to be at 0, so I'm going to shift it all up 1. So this will give me a radius somewhere in between the lines of 1 to 40. Because I don't want it to be 0. That would give me a huge problem there. Okay, then I also need to go ahead and I need to go ahead and set my speed, x speed here. So I'm going to go double x speed, which is equal to, and I'm going to do this as a random integer as well. Okay, so I'm going to go math random, and I want this to go to the left and to the right, right? And so I'm going to go ahead and do times -7 here. Let's do -6. Okay, I don't want to worry about half integers here. Plus, now I don't want, this would just give me 0 to -6, right? Well, I'm going to add 3 to this. So what that does is that makes it from -3 to 3. It shifts it up 3 value here. So this makes my X speed range of -323, right? Because it's going to give me a -6, but then I'm adding 3, and that shifts my whole range there. Well, I need to go ahead and do the same thing here for my Y speed. So math.random -6 plus 3. I'm not going to comment that because I already got that down there. Now, for each time I go through this, I'm giving this a new radius, new speed, right? Because I'm doing this 100 times. Well, I need to actually create the ball now at this point. We look at my constructor down here. I need a color, float, radius, an X, and a Y, and a speed. So I have my 2 speeds here. Let's go ahead then and put that in as right. Oh, there we are. I lost my spot there where we are. So I'm going to go ball B is equal to new ball. So I'm creating a new object right here. And I'm going to give it a generic right here. Color. It will change. So it's all right here based upon if it's smaller, so they're not there. Let's go give this 200. Radius, which I defined it up there. Okay, and then I'm going to go width. I want this to start in the center here. And so that's going to be width divided by 2.0. I'm going to go height divided by 2.0. Because remember, setups only runs at the beginning here. So X speed and then Y speed, I set those right above it. All right, and I believe that is all in my constructor, right? Color, radius, height, width, right there, 7, X speed, and Y speed right there. So I created my constructor, put my semicolon here. That creates object B. And then I've now created my object. The last thing I would do is just add it to my container. So container I is now equal to B. Now this is the really nice thing about Java, is that I want to go back over here so I'm not cutting off this side. We can save objects. This is called object-oriented programming. That's the nice thing. The difference between Java and Python is we can save whole objects that have multiple pieces of information. So I have an array, and I'm saving an object here, but it has all of this information going to be saved with it. So it will have a different radius and a different X speed, Y speed each time. Some of them will be moving to the left, some of them will be moving to the right. So I have 100 different ones inside of my array, right? I created this array right here. 100 different objects that will have that initial speed. They'll all start in the same height and width, because right here I'm starting from the generic size. So that's half of this width, so 300, half the height, 400. So they all start at 300, 400. But they'll all have different ones that it will be saving right here. Okay. The last thing I need to do then is I just need to do my draw. So we have a lot of things going into this draw. It's going to seem simple, but we've done a lot of work to get to this point. So I'm going to go void right here, draw. Make my brackets. Okay. Then the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I need to find the largest ball in my container. Okay, so I'm going to go ball, and I'm creating a new object here, L ball, which will equal, and it's going to be equal to find largest. I want it to be equal to find largest here. All right, so I'm creating a new variable from the ball class called LBall, find largest right here, and that's where this came right here. And so this should just return the largest one right there, so I know which one it is. Then what I want to do is for each ball, I need to go ahead and cycle through my whole array and display it and move it. So how do I do this? I do it for what type of variable? It's a ball variable. And I'm going to give a generic name B here. Container. That is a semicolon. I need this right here to be a colon. All right, I'm going to do my curly brackets on each side. And then I want to go ahead and say B. So for every object B that it runs through, display. All right. If P equal to L ball here. All right. And then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to do B dot move. I want it to move as well. Okay. So I'm going to do for two things. First, let me comment this out. Let me get out of move here. Let's just do display. So let's go ahead. Moment of truth here. Let's run our program. I hit run. No errors. Excellent. Notice I just have a ton of things in the center. Okay. It displays them. It's refreshing 60 times a second, but nothing has changes. I haven't run my move yet, which is inside of the ball class. I need to change. Remember, move, if I come down here, what move does is move changes my X position, Y position based upon my speeds. They all have different speeds, but it's still based upon each object has its own speed saved to it. So since I comment that out, nothing happens. So I'm going to go up here to my, I got lost here, display. Let's take this out. And now let's put move back in here. When I do this, wow, I got 100 different balls. Hey, there's the biggest one right there. We know that because it's red. And they're all moving away from the center here at different speeds because we went ahead and each one was assigned different speed. This one is moving very slow right here. And there we go. Now, the question is, whoa, why are all these leaving tails? All right. They're leaving tails. Those aren't going away. Yeah, this is refreshing 60 times a second. But notice I just do my background once. That's in my setup. I'm not changing my background, so it's just keeping it. If I wanted to get rid of that, so if I go back here, if I want to get rid of all these tails, well, if I change my background each time, remember, draw is what runs 60 times a second. So let me go here, and I want to do this yellow again. So let's go 255, 255, 0. Now if I hit play, it's going to refresh that background every second, and now I'll no longer see those tails because it's redoing that background and then it's putting the balls on. Redoing the background, then putting the balls on. If I comment that out, it's not redoing the background every time, and so the ones before, and it kind of looks like we just have those tails right there. And notice each time I run this, I'm getting different results, and I should because I'm using a math random number. So hopefully you've got this able to run. Pause it, go through. I went ahead and comment out. I think the tails look kind of cool. If you're up for a challenge, I'm not going to do it in this video just because this is taking a while. See if you can get it so that balls bounce, so that they don't just stay in one spot, leave, and then are gone. We've done this before. You're going to have to use some if statements, make maybe a method inside of your ball class called bounce, and see if you can do that. We'll do that together later. Good luck, and hopefully you can do this.